there is no UDA in Tiati. There is no wheelbarrow in Tiati. Yeah, we hear about it elsewhere, but it's not in. We don't know about it in Tiati.
Okay, thank you very much, Bwana. When it comes to national politics, let me start from Baringo. Let nobody lie to you kwamba Baringo kuna chama ingine. There is no any other party in Baringo. Baringo will be UDA, and all aspirants, all the aspirants for all positions. If you will not be from UDA, you will never see that seat. I can only say that you can exempt Tiati. It's good to be honest. You can exempt Tiati because that's where KANU has been playing its politics. But
to be self-reliant. So I have a different approach. I've shared with you the different approach that I have. I want us to deal with issues right from that ground level.
You know, Baringo has made a decision, and I don't think somebody will nervous about the presidency. In fact, when you get these people, they are no longer talking about the president. The real elephant in the house now, not even so much of governorship, but the real elephant is in the MP seats.
Ni wakati wetu wa kupiga siasa kuleta uongozi mzuri Baringo County.
Amachasamen tupye nywara Ruto. Anyibe koinet koya anyibe koinet komakiyoisot. Sisi sembite. Kigany. Memagen direktoide acha. Bekubege masab so ngirite soy. Acha. Kisige. Bagak chelita laga pangalang. Bagak pangalang to nui go wai. Kole sisi atutaki. Ako kwenta mokwanyit ko sisi. Kiro sambuna gilogun boisiek en Nandi. Kogonen songoliet olenjin tugul. Sit yetu. Ngo wachi ngoi gope. Sikanet kabisa. Mosikini acher bichwa macher inwe. Ma muchi asochi bichwa moso unwe. Amwe gondo indenywa. Bako kwa muaun. Sisige. Bako chimbichwa wala. Patungait petu kechu kodori. Onne manga nyugele ji mwaite. Kocha muae. Lengo usi. Aja. Nuo berure bichwa mai berure taban. Gomi jine gi tamaja muae ta kota. Ongi ngomato ko nyoro legi. Mego tin. Gijili liya sao ile nele bai ko la. Para que se que está de mi comer me dicho. Yo no sé esa, aunque nosotros que le mal vale no te voy a con el igual no hay tababa. Limpiando. Ingo te lo anela me tipio de mo, se y ahora son mingue mi soya, mo te que ni mo gasto agora, sisinge. Tulia. Las costumbre que meto cole inam gaane agisis. Amachasamen tupye nywara Ruto. Anyibe koinet koya anyibe koinet komakiyoisot. Sisi sembite. Kigany. Memagen direktoide acha. Bekubege masab so ngirite soy. Acha. Kisige. Bagak chelita laga pangalang. Bagak Onala to nui go wai, kole sisi atutaki. Ako kwenta mokwanyit ko sisi. Kiro sambuna gilogun boisiek en Nandi. Kogonen songoliet olenjin tugul. Sit yetu. Ngo wachi ngoi gope. Sikanet kabisa. Mosikini acher bichwa macher inwe. Ma muchi asochi bichwa moso unwe. Amwe gondo indenywa. Bako kwa muaun. Sisige. Bako chimbichwa wala. Patungait petu kechu kodori. Onne manga nyugele ji mwaite. Ochamwae? Lengo usi? Aja. Yo berur ni chupa mai berur taban. Bumi jinne gi tama jamai ta kata. Ongi ngomato ko nyoro lagi. Me gotin. Gi chili liya sao ide nele bai ko la. Para kita ke istana, ni ko ben itu. Kalau jaram ya no tiesa, aunque nosotros que le mal vale no te voy a con el igual no hay tababa. Y miando. Ingo tilo ane la meti miando y muerse y ahora son minge miso ya muerte que ni mo estoy gori tisinge. Tulia.
Well, good evening and welcome. It's yet another time that we get to have a conversation regarding the leaders who are coming to us to ask for our vote. We are about a week and a half to the nominations for the UDA party, and that should be coming on 14th of April. And we are, say, about a week and a half to go. And at the same time, we are heading to the August general elections that is coming in August 9th of 2022. And tonight we are looking at the bit of the church and politics. And here we are privileged to have Bishop Dr. Jackson Kosgei. And we have an Emeritus title in between, just to show that he may have moved away from the church but not retired fully. He still remains an elder in the church. And here we are. He wishes to vie for the seat, or rather he's asking for your vote for the Senate seat in Baringo County. And tonight we are looking at what he has for the people of Baringo. And aside from that, what different is he bringing while he's looking for, to become the third senator for Baringo County. And I'm your host, Komen SK. Karibu sana. Bishop Emeritus Daktari Jackson Kosgei, karibu kwenye studio zetu.
Thank you so much, Komen.
Yeah.
I think really I'm aspiring to be not actually the third. I think in Baringo since independence, I will be the fourth.
The fourth senator.
Yeah. And past senator was William Rotich. They used to say that so it will be actually the fourth one. Otherwise, thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
To join you this day, and thank you for giving me an opportunity perhaps to share my thoughts with the people of Baringo through this media.
Yeah, we're glad that you honored our invite, and we are having this platform so that we give an opportunity to the people of Baringo to get to know their leaders, so that by the time they are going to the ballot, they know exactly whom they are voting for and why.
Absolutely.
And we are answering the question why tonight.
Right.
Well, there's a clip that played before we started this conversation.
Right.
And that clip, I can estimate maybe it was around 2010 there.
Around.
And the venue was in Cheptebo. A host of leaders from the Kalenjin region were present. Among them is the Deputy President, William Ruto. And we played that clip just to paint a picture of your journey into politics.
Right.
Whenever you preach, you hardly miss a conversation around leadership. And here we are today. You want to be the senator for Baringo County. And looking at that history, you've made a statement that, to me, I would say it's more of a prophecy. Looking at what the Deputy President is going through right now, and now transiting all through 2010. That sounds like siasa haikuanza juzi on your side, and that's what we want to know. Who is Bishop Emeritus Dr. Jackson Kosgei? And why politics at this time?
Lovely.
Yeah.
I think there is a misunderstanding from the part of section of Christianity on leadership and Christian leadership. The question of politics and the church as separate is not biblical.
Yeah.
It's not from the Bible.
Yeah.
I would ask a straight question, that Christians would read the book of Psalms devotionally
Yeah.
and call it the Word of God, that it is inspired by God. They can read also the book of Proverbs and declare it is the Word of God, and even they use it for their devotion. They can even read Ecclesiastics and call it the Word of God. And they can read the Songs of Solomon in the Bible, and they call it the Word of God. This in Bible survey is what they clustered under what they call wisdom literature in the scriptures. So the question would be, who wrote these books?
Yeah.
It was written by political leaders. One was King David, who ruled Jerusalem for 40 years. He wrote the book of Psalms. Part of it is attributed to Moses.
Yeah.
In like chapter 90 or so, that it was written by Moses. Who was Moses? He was a political leader. He made decisions on the lives of the people, on everyday situations. He was a judge. And Moses was a spiritual leader. He was a prophet. And so is David. And then Solomon, the son of David, was a political leader. I can enumerate, I can say more.
Yeah.
Secondly, I want to demystify also the relationship between leadership in the church and leadership of the country.
Yeah.
Some Christians are trying to paint a picture that the leadership of the country comes from the devil, and therefore it belongs to this world. And they say evil. The question is, how evil is leadership?
And maybe before we go to that, let's get to know who you are first. Who you Bishop Emeritus ni nani, so that when we come to the leadership now, we flow to the end, and even getting to know what your aspirations are and what you would want to do for the people of Baringo should you be elected the senator.
Right. Thank you so much. Bishop Emeritus, what it means, first of all, it means I have retired, but I was allowed by the church to retain the title. I retired. If you are defrocked, that's in the church, then you are stripped of the respect. It's like now the retired Chief Justice Maraga, he's Chief Justice Emeritus. He can be still appointed to sit in various boards and organizations, both locally in the Commonwealth, to become anything. He can be appointed to preside over several other boards, and he retains that respect of the office. Second thing is that Christian leader is both a leader, which is more a leader as per definition, as leadership is a cut across quality. There is nothing like saying a separation between a leader in the church and a leader in the country. Can you talk about Pope, who was commended this week against Russian invasion in Ukraine? That is politics. You talk about Henry Okulu and Manasseh Kuria, Timothy Nzoia. When this country was a one-party system, the Kenyans did not have an alternative voice. The leadership of the church provided that alternative voice. When in America people were denied rights, equal rights in the country, spiritual leaders came out to speak truth to power. Some of them paid the highest price. They were killed. One like Martin Luther King. The freedom we enjoy today is from that religious background. So I am that person. I am that leader. And from the beginning, when I became a Christian and gave my life to Christ, it was clear in me that my vision was to be useful. And I wanted to be useful. God was calling me to leadership to be useful. Number one, to myself. Number two, to my family. Because I knew I was going to raise a family.
Yeah.
Despite the crooked legs, perhaps, everything else about me is functional. So I knew I was raising a family. Number three, I was going to be useful to the church, which brought the message that converted me to have more meaning in my life. And number four, I was, and I am, and I became useful to my country. Because I'm born of a military officer who was in the World War II, and therefore brought us close to government and governance, and things like patriotism was part of me. For the last over 40 years, almost 50, I've played the role cut across. I've contributed in Moi's leadership immensely during that time, during the time of moving from one-party system to multi-party system. I was in the front with the spiritual leaders across that encouraged the president to be bold and decide to go multi-partyism, and that God was assuring that he was going to retire peacefully. We gave him prophetic message. It's not the first time, as I heard from your clip. And then I became part and parcel of the transition, post-Moi era, providing the Kalenjin community a succession process. To get one, leadership. We needed three things very important to us, post-Moi leadership, and I was in the lead. I established an organization called EMO, along with other brethren, thanks to people like Margaret in UK. He used to be called, and she's called Mama Emo. She was one of the cardinal founders of Emo, and John Ayabe, for example, and others who joined us. We established it for three reasons. One was to enhance succession. Because there was a leadership vacuum after Mzee left. So we needed a leader to lead Kalenjins into national conversation. And thank God, God helped us with the bishops of Rift Valley, and we were able, and with the leadership and people of Rift Valley, we were able to have leadership identified. Number two was to make sure that Kalenjins don't disintegrate after Moi, that we remain a united people. You have had in Kasevem, thanks to Joshua Chepkwony, who started a station at that time, you have had a cliche, a statement that I produced, Onge tige guteren, right? Yani Onge tige guteren. That became an appeal that brought the Kalenjins together. And finally, commend politics and leadership is not there and complete without resources, and that we emphasized on what we call resource mobilization, to have a corporate approach in putting up resources. And I must declare, I must say now, because now as a political leader, you speak about what you have done. As a Christian leader, you let God speak about it and the society. With this one, the kind of leadership that came into Rift Valley between 2001 and the confidence that came in Kalenjin, thanks to the programs that I was leading. Number two is when there was post-election violence in this country. Coming to speak privily, is that when no one would be trusted by both local and international concerned groups, I came out during that time and became focal through AIMA organization, and we were able to express and speak on behalf of the Kalenjin people. I also went to The Hague during the proceedings, and I didn't go there for selfie photo taking with the accused persons, but I was in the arena where I faced the judge in the international court and spoke on behalf of the people of Kenya and especially the community of Kalenjin, along with my friend and brother, Professor Chepkwony was explaining the scientific explanation of Kimurgelda, Mama, and then Jerambus, who was talking about issues of security, whether there was training camps and so on. And I went there to demystify the issue of network, which really facilitated the post-election violence. Yes, I am a leader, a Christian leader. I am a Christian leader. When you talk about Christian theology, I am an apologist in Christian circle. I am also an ethicist. I believe in moral values and societal, as a basis for societal concern. I am also a community leader. I am also a politician. Excellent. Part of my studies and courses that I took was political leadership. Yes, that is me. I'm a family man. I have adult children, and I got grandchildren. They're doing their Form 4, others are doing Standard 7, and so on. So that's me.
You, a family member, or rather a family man, and being useful to the society. I was looking at the bit of you being useful, and much of your public engagements began with the church. And just like any other organization, I usually say an organization is a shell without people.
Right.
And beginning from the church and being useful from your family to the church and to the whole country. I think that is a it's a clear-cut path, really. But before we go to that, you're a family man. We know one of your daughters who's very popular, both locally and internationally.
I think she's popular more than me now.
And before we we came to this show, someone was asking me, who came first in terms of being popular between you and Amy Kosgei?
Right. Of course, in my generation, she was not there. I was popular. And that formed the basis of her coming and being appreciated. So she had a foundation. She had a rich foundation, both spiritual and also social recognition. Now she has taken over in our own generation. They say in our where we come from, no singer sings for all generations. So I'm glad the mentorship of my wife and I and our family has given her an opportunity to express the best out of herself.
Looking at your family, I can see you have a PhD holder in the house, one of your daughters. You have an outstanding talent. How have you managed to, you said you wanted to be useful to your family.
Absolutely.
How did you manage to bring up such a family to where it is right now? And I'm asking this because at the end of the day, leadership begins from the smallest unit of leadership, that is a family. So how did you manage to bring up such a family, looking at how you were brought up to where you are right now?
In some areas, like any ordinary, I'm an ordinary father. I'm not an extraordinary father, but I have been useful to my family on what we call on the best times, and I'm useful to them even in the lowest times. Because you have your lowest moments, you have your lowest rating. Leadership is demonstrated in both swing, that at the best and even when you are in your worst, in the functionality of the family. Number two, so I had to appreciate that I am not bringing up a perfect family, but I'm bringing up the right family. I may not be perfect, but I'm the right person. So and being the right is by accepting and providing leadership and usefulness at the highest time when you are doing very well. You talk about that, and also you provide usefulness even in your lowest moment. that you must be useful at that moment. And in fact, in some of the lowest moments of life, proper leadership comes out. And I've been able to do that over 40 years. The second part of it is the recognition that you have given birth or you have sired as a man, not your photocopies. You are not producing copycats. So you must recognize that every individual child has their own way that they will, and the path. We were wishing, my wife and I thought Amy would be, because if I was not a preacher, I would have gone to be a judge. I wanted to be a judge. But God called me to the ministry and leadership. So we thought Amy would be a lawyer because she knew how to speak on behalf of the rest of the children. Even today, she's the one who can confront me and say, Dad, this is what is happening. Even when I engage with the public, she comments the way I appeared, what I said. And then we thought she could be a lawyer.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were open to our talent that was going to come. So what did we do? We allowed every child to produce the best of themselves. And we didn't want to inculcate into their presupposition the sense of entitlement, that because they are children of a prominent leader, they should prepare to enjoy everything. We removed anything that we would like to give them to be out of the conversation and allowed them to produce the best of themselves. One of the worst things that happens in families is that we families who are well endowed, we have positions, we have denied our children to produce them the best out of themselves. Yeah, that is one of the things. That's why Kalenjin uses the word "sichengetunyi kosijilelwek," which is a very bad description. It's like cursing ourselves.
Yeah.
We must produce lions. So how do you do it? By allowing every child to produce the best out of themselves. And this is what I like about Central Province for some time. That community do not let the children enjoy and be actually mesmerized by the sense of entitlement. Many families succeeded because they allow that child to go. Yes, that's what I can say. I don't know. If you don't control me, I can say a lot.
Well, I was to come to that, but it is becoming apparent. I'm also a young parent.
Yeah.
And anyone who's watching here would be very interested to know how leaders even bring up their children. And if there's something that we can emulate, then why not? And this platform creates such an opportunity for people to give their ideas on how families are raised. And of course, at the end of the day, we get to be judged by how we raise our families before we even look at what kind of a leader you can make for the people of Baringo.
Absolutely.
You've had the opinion on how to raise families, giving an opportunity to the children to express themselves and to bring the best out of themselves.
Right.
And if you're watching and you think you have an opinion over the same, you can also give us a comment on the comment section. You can drop it there. We'll be able to acknowledge those who are watching us. And also, for those who are watching on YouTube, who wish to use YouTube, we're also live on YouTube, Baringo News. We are live on Facebook, Baringo News, and we're also live on Ravine News. For the few that have come with their comments, I can see Charles Rotich, you're saying, unamuunga mkono. Vincent Chesire, you're saying, the sound check is good from the studio. Chris Kosgei, you're tuned. Kennedy Kipto, you're watching it live. So we are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook. You have a question, you have a comment, you have a concern. Bishop is here with us and he would be giving you answers to some of the concerns that you do have. And tonight we wish to know what is his agenda for the people of Baringo as an aspirant for the senatorial seat. We've just learned that he would be the 4th senator for Baringo. Of course, looking back to the colonial period when we had a senator. But before then, now, why Senate and not any other seat?
First of all, leadership is a calling. And all leaders comes from God.
Yeah.
some people talk about, why did you go there? All leaders comes from God. And the worst thing that we can do is when the good people like my good sisters and brothers who have written on the Facebook commenting about my coming, they said, I think you are losing faith, or you are backsliding. I've been a leader throughout. And commenting on public issues, what was said about Christians that they should not participate in, it was actually a coined statement by the Church of the Queen. After the Berlin Conference, the scramble for Africa. So when Kenya was created as a country, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and the German East African, that was like Tanzania, or Belgium, like Burundi and Central South Africa by Boss, the next 100 years that followed saw the coming of the evangelical movement that came from North America, including AIM, including Africa Gospel Church. One of the conditions that were given to the evangelical is that if we are to register you, don't participate in politics. Yet the Anglican Church, which is the Church of England, was participating in politics. The reason why Henry Okulu, Manasseh's courier, would stand in the gap is because they had a state recognition as a religion that can play politics in the country. But the rest of us, we were denied. The Pentecostal movement, the Assemblies of God, they were told, don't. I'm speaking that as a theologian. So you Christians who are calling it evil, is because you are a victim of religious marginalization. Why Senate and not MP? MP is more like, in the definition of Kenya, has gone beyond its responsibility of representation, oversight, and legislation. They have gone into execution through CDF. They choose projects, they put projects here and there. I thought myself that I didn't want to go execution. If I want to go execution, then why go for a National Assembly seat? I should go for Senate, for governor. The reason I went for the senatorial is because apart from the three, which is required, and that is the issue of representation, oversight, and legislation, there are two more that were added, and which a senator has. Number 4 is what we call revenue allocation. So it involves caucusing in getting resources for the county. And number 5 is the safeguarding of the seat of presidency against the occupant of that office or those who are hell-bent in interfering with the leadership of the incumbent. So Senate becomes a guardian angel for that particular. And the other one, which is silent comment, is that Senate becomes the guardian angel of the devolution and county, protector of county from intra-problem or extra problems that might want to undermine the role of devolution as we implement the Constitution. I found myself that my experience and the knowledge of Baringo is that I am the youngest of those elders that witness the leadership of our founding father of this country, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. I saw part of his leadership. I also participated in election at that time. I also saw the full length of the leadership of Daniel Toroitich arap Moi and to where we are today. And therefore I represent 3 things. What you call a reservoir of institutional memory, bridging the present with the past. I feel that I can provide stability for the present, and I can give confidence for the future. This is a quality I'm bringing to the table. I'm not coming to experiment, but I'm coming to implement political goodwill to the people of Baringo in addressing some of the very serious issues that is affecting them. I feel I have gone through the circle of the meal. I participated as a Christian leader in both economic, social, education, health as a church. You talk of education. The church I was associated with, I became the Secretary General to the top level, built schools. Solian Girls High School is one of the products of the church. Health facility. You talk about Kabedo Hospital, which is one of the leading hospitals was started by the church. We handed over to the government. It is a facility that is providing health services. We participated in the education of the people of Tiati as a nasal area, and I know like the back of my hand. Some of the leaders in Tiati, for example, today are a product of what we did as a church. They are our children. I mean, they are a product of our mentorship, in that they were educated, helped, motivated by the church. I know this area. And then on matters of insecurity, for example, which is a thorn in the flesh in the Northern Rift Valley, I think I'm coming with the knowledge, because every conflict has a history behind. I have that detailed of an history, if you are going to allow me later to say it.
We'll talk about security later. It's one of the biggest issues that we engage leaders on whenever they come to this platform. But before we go to that, you feel you have the experience. You said you've gone through the various cycles and you have a lot of history. What do you think this history would be of importance to the people of Baringo when it comes to being a senator for Baringo?
It answers very, very important questions. Let me give a philosophical answer to that. It answers the question, where did we come from? What made us to be where we are today? What is it that made us to be where we are today in terms of social, cultural, economic, and issues that we go through? It is very important. Number two, it answers the question, where are we? Where are we? And it answers, where can we possibly go?
And in the ancient leadership, even in Kalenjin, the Kalenjin community, you could hear of Kirwogin.
Yes.
Someone who would make decisions based on historical.
Yes.
And even in the legal field, there's what we call jurisprudence. You would want to look at how issues were decided based on historical, or rather how things were done in the past.
They call it precedence.
Yes. Well, now swinging from your experience, you've also highlighted the role that you played in the church, and here we are now. What agenda do you have for the people of Baringo? You wish to be the 4th senator.
Yes.
What do people expect from you as their next senator?
There is a kind of a carving. They call it. It's like a road which is used by shepherds in Kalenjin, and especially across Baringo. We use the word. The word called kombe. It's something like a hook. It is common with the shepherds. Kombe. It's like it's made like.
It's like a bakora, but it has a curve.
It does a curve, and it is made of a very hard tree. It is used in two ways. One, when it is used in carrying the dead, because Kalenjins never handle the dead, they would pull them using that particular hook. Then that hook would be, the name would change into Mololowe. And so when you are making it for carrying the dead to their place of rest, Kigure Mololowe. But when you are using it as a shepherd, it is called Kombe or Murugatua. Muruato, big up Central, mostly they use it, and I think even North.
Yeah.
This particular road is used in bringing down the, lowering the branches of trees with leaves and some seeds,
So that the livestock can
so
feed
that
on.
livestock can feed on it.
Yeah.
So your duty is to bring it closer. Then the bigger ram or something steps on it to handle it on behalf of the rest. Then you, as the shepherd, you remove and go for another 3. The Senate is a resource mobilizer for the county.
Yeah.
And I feel I am bringing what you call, number 1, I want to bring a robust oversight, representation, and very active and agile legislation, participation in legislation on those laws that can that will affect counties in this country. Number 2, I want to bring in, and this becomes the priority, to demystify the brand that has been made to represent Baringo in 2 areas. Number 1 is the issue of insecurity. Komen, I want to believe that we know the history of this conflict between Turkanas and the Pokot and the Karamaja, and the impact on the communities, on its environment, that it is historical.
Yeah.
It was a clash of empires, Ethiopian Empire and the British Empire. Immediately after the Berlin Conference, Menelik II was expanding his kingdom upward, western part and eastern. In fact, in the east, Menelik was being prevented by Italian leadership. To the south, it was expanding and overrunning, and it gravitated around the Elimi Triangle. Menelik II was coming south, and English kingdom was interested with Kenyan protectorate and Tanzania. And they knew the Turkanas were armed by Menelik. He was a lover of arms. He armed them. The first people to be armed in this conflict were the Turkanas, and they were serious fighters. You know, even today, Turkanas, they've been referring that Kenya, they are actually strangers to Kenya. The reason they used to say Kenya begins somewhere in Mogotio, the other. You know why? Because they were associated with the kingdom of the leadership of Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the Turkanas, in 1913, Menelik II died of a mass stroke. And therefore they found themselves as orphans because they could not relate with the tribes of Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Secondly, then the European in 1900 found a way of neutralizing the Turkanas by arming the Pokot.
Which year was that?
Early 1900. So they armed the Pokot, and the Pokot were used by the British to prevent Menelik II from moving
expanding the territory now.
Yeah, to the south.
North, south.
Yes. Yeah. And then the second thing that happened is that the British were interested with land, and they pushed the Pokot out of their land and created a corridor in Uganda and pushed the Karamoja. So became now, so the Pokot became sandwiched between the British and the expanding kingdom of Ethiopia, and the conflict created for them between them and the Karamojas. When when the British created a room in Uganda against the Karamoja. So this is the history, and it has continued. Now the British was interested with the land, and then multinational companies created an appetite to the post-independent leadership by exposing the natural resources in this area, the oil, the geothermal power, the minerals, both what you have as several others, which is natural, which is wealth below. So the what you call trade concern maintain the conflict of the communities that are there.
So now, looking at the history that you're giving, and looks like we have dived into the issue of insecurity. The history that you've painted, it was the Turkanas who had been armed first.
Yes.
And it was for the purpose of the leadership of Ethiopia expanding, or rather eating into the Kenyan side. Then the British now brought in, used another community to repulse them or to neutralize them, as you say. So it was a fight of the resources. Oil, minerals, and any other resource that is within the northern Kenya. Now, in your opinion, what would be the solution to this, now that you're saying it is among your agenda as a senator for Baringo? Because I'm sure that is what is of interest to the people who are watching right now.
Number one comment is a political goodwill. What we need in Baringo is a serious political goodwill. Because you cannot continue disarming the Pokot from the time of colonial leadership through Kenyatta time. You remember the issue of Morocco, and they just put on what we call cosmetic action and made simple and ordinary Pokots to suffer. And when they rise up, the ordinary Tugans and the ordinary Jamus and ordinary Samburus are suffering. Yet the real people behind it were people in power. You remember the Morocco time, and then the Pokot were disarmed. Police went there, and there was a lot of maim and killing and controlling, but they didn't provide a solution. And then during Moi, a disarmament again. During Kibaki, another disarmament again. Then Uhuru, another disarmament attempt in 2014, and recently, twice, several times. Now, finally, we will have one of our communities being declared a hostile society. So the first thing that is required is a political goodwill. Political goodwill where I will caucus between national government and county government and political leadership of all the neighboring communities, counties. The senator of Elgeyo Marakwet, senator of West Pokot, senator of Turkana, senator of Samburu, Laikipia, and us in Baringo. If we form a region that we will discuss the issue and provide goodwill, and I tell you it is possible. When Lina Kilimo became a member of parliament under NAC government, 2002, for 5 years, she provided a goodwill to Kerio Valley, which provided a seamless peace that has come. Notwithstanding sporadic attacks that were there, she did very well. So, and she provided a goodwill. So we have not provided a goodwill. Like today, the people of Baringo are asking our outgoing senator now, Gideon Moi, having had this experience where Baringo North in some areas has been deserted and schools closed down, and Baringo South facing the same thing, Mr. Senator, you have not come to the county to address the county in county assembly because it is provided by the law, and tell us really where is this problem coming from, and who is the final beneficiary of this particular thing, or I don't know, or I cannot know. Let's go to heaven and ask God, where does the genesis of our problem in Baringo come from? My brother and friend, Jeptumo, whom we are competing with, you know, politics aside, is duty bound to come to this studio, for example, today. And even, you know, call a leadership meeting and tell us, because you have been in JLAC, chairman of a very powerful committee in parliament, Bwana Mujumbe, kwa nini kiki ubi uginge mengung ritos geon kapesa memwawe jiligibano toga? Did you follow the footsteps of the animals? Ilegiba uchutono. Akonde memuji mwagitile nagiba in Mwangale. He said I'm speaking to this tone that the hyena said. I'm telling this tone, even if you don't reply, you have heard. They were talking about karaoke.
Yeah.
The second thing I will provide is what we call an opportunity for an holistic approach towards getting solution for the conflict. An all solution means you have the political leaders involved, you have the government involved, you have the community leaders involved. I'm very clear in my mind on the roadmap in doing that. And the third one is infrastructural development, opening up these areas, opening roads, putting up what we call changing the agricultural activities from a rain-fed agriculture and animal husbandry into irrigated agriculture. I would want to appeal to the government, and I will caucus for finances from ASAL department or ministry, from the Ministry of Interior, and from the ministry concerned, that is of devolution, that we focus security funding into infrastructural development. I am wondering what Joe Biden is doing in Nairobi as a general. What are you mapping? Nairobi was mapped and planned by the generals that ruled this country under British colonial. Now we should be having them in Northeastern and in Baringo, drawing how to modernize infrastructure in northern part of our country. So I would say, for example, caucus for putting up huge dams that harvest rains during rainy season and then begin to irrigate the entire Tiati. Baringo, Komen, is about 11,000 square kilometers.
That's true.
You talk about, and the people of Baringo are 667, maybe 700 now, 0.7 million people.
Yeah.
You can now talk about square kilometer. You will have in every 60 square kilometer, comment, there is only one person. Now it means we have enough resources to meet the needs of the people of Baringo. I'm very clear in my mind that infrastructural development affecting all, whether roads, whether building of dams, whether spreading water, will bring a solution not only for Baringo, but also for the northern, northeastern, and even some parts of eastern south of Kenya. So just to mention a few, people talk about, oh, the Pokot must be educated, or this community need to be educated. Don't think the Pokots are foolish and they don't know what they are doing. Involve them in finding a solution to them, and they need to know those who are involved. And they have said Mikoras. I don't like that term where people begin to brand their children as Mikoras. No, they are not Mikoras. They are their children. We need to rehabilitate the society entirely and make sure that that region becomes peaceful. I would not even go for the provocation that maybe the communities of Tugen are being attacked because they are not armed, or Iljamus, or this. If we do that, we will perpetrate civil strife, and that can lead to civil war in days to come. And it can be a problem that you cannot solve.
And already it is a problem,
yes.
Bishop, and as you said, you've given a very clear historical background. Yes. Turkana became the first people to be armed.
Yes.
Now, should you become the senator for Baringo, and with all the strategies that you've listed, what would happen if other counties, like the Turkana county now, people remain armed as it were before? Do you think we will sort out the issue of insecurity when other places are armed and these people are abandoning getting to arm themselves?
I have said that we want to involve what we call a political goodwill that will bring the 7 counties that we are neighboring together. We want to have a master or a Marshall Plan. And that's why I'm asking the army, instead of coming to disarm, let them come and build the bridges. Let them be the cavalry that really deals with construction and opening roads and opening areas. This is a security issue. And we must involve the governors and the senators. I will caucus. And you know me, I'm a very aggressive person. I am really proactive.
Well,
yes.
You, after managing to bring these people together, how long do you think would be enough to sort out the issue of insecurity if you take the approach that you've outlined?
Because, as I said, every conflict has a history. Every conflict has an explanation. If you give confidence to the Pokot, to the Turkanas, and to the Tugans, that a solution has been found, it takes like the day the decision is declared. The reason why it is not over is because we come to a meeting, when we retreat back to our communities, people say, decision, ngaleja kubo tuyot. Ngaleja kubo jija, inyo ninatembea tu, yene kitargele. Hiyo maneno ni yanatembea. Yeah? Lakini, magibori yenge wekele. So when the leaders decide, and because of that, when I say we are going to employ an holistic approach, what I meant is there will be an approach that even the leaders who are the beneficiaries or technocrats in government or people who are benefiting among the multinationals will feel threatened, because we are going to use a multi-approach. I talked about county government, national government, and we will have international community coming to the scene with the network I have, with the, let me not say more, but I should say I have enough resource in terms of networking with both local and international actors. This thing can be seen. It is just like you see it. You are seeing it moving. You are seeing it moving from Baringo. You see them going from here up to the destination. You are seeing it. It's very clear. This world is ruled by 2,000 communities of intelligentsia with the shared information. CIA is one of them. National Intelligence Service in Kenya is one. We have KGB of Russia. We have Scotland Yard. We have several of them. 2,000 is sustaining the system of civilization that we have in the world. Nothing, let me tell you, nothing is hidden. The second thing, there is no people, no individual who is more strong and powerful than government. The armory that we have in the stores are in millions. The guns that we have in northern part of Kenya are in thousands. Comment? There is no one who can compete with government. But the only thing that has happened since independence to our day is that the government has been tolerating the communities to have an homegrown solution. It has never taken that this thing is a real menace and danger to the country. It has not graduated to terrorism. When it reaches that point, you will see the government becoming government enough. So that's why I was saying, let us provide goodwill, let political goodwill, let us all work together. As we can't afford this menace again, we need to change that.
And my question was, how long do you think it would take you? For a senator, you'd serve for 5 years and seek a re-election.
Right.
Would 5 years be enough to sort out this issue based on the approach?
No, 5 years would be good enough to set the foundation. In fact, any leader who gives the initial statement should not be the one that will see the completion of that.
So you wish to set the foundation?
I think beyond my time. But stopping the menace, that one is within the first year of my service to the country.
Well,
I mean, stopping the conflict, yes.
yes, and in the leadership of Bishop Emeritus Dr. Jackson Kosgei, should he be elected the senator, he's giving an assurance that the issue of insecurity, especially the bit of fighting among the communities and stealing of the cows in a forceful manner, will stop within 1 year. And that sounds like a good thing. Should it happen like that? Because we've had leaderships since 2013. We've had a senator, a governor, and several MPs throughout the time. You have a comment, you have a question, you can drop it on the comment section. And before we go into a break, or rather we'll take a break, but before we go there, there's a clip of a drone footage. So there's a drone footage making rounds on social media right now. And it is said that it was taken by government security agencies with a focus on some young men holding guns and with some cows around there, zoomed in from a thicket, and they are said to be bandits. Do you think that would be one of the solutions? Locating where these animals are, who the bandits are. You could even see one of them trying to shoot the drone. Do you think it's one of the things that the government needs to do as a proactive way of sorting this out?
It confirms what I told you,
Yeah.
that government is well resourced. That's the only confirmation. The question of whether it is the best way or not, I wanted to say solution to such conflicts is both social, is both cultural, it's both spiritual. It is actually, it is basic. First of all, it is a whole chain. It's not about those young men. When you are seeing them there, they are not the ones. The beneficiary of this banditry is not those young men who were seen from the sky. There are people who are beneficiary, and we need to address them. These are the people who will address them.
Okay.
And not necessarily with the issue of asking for penalty on them. They should not be scared. But we want to ask them, for how long would you like to practice this? And they need to answer that question. And if they say today, we will stop it, then the remnants who are used to that kind of thing, then you employ what you call the technical approach. And the technical approach involves droning, it involves using now what we call military force and so on. I sympathize with those young men. They need to be rehabilitated. That's my view as a moral leader. And we should also be guided by moral values, that even at war, we don't forget moral and human sanctity. That even when we are fighting, that's why even the prisoners of war, there was a way to be treated. You don't treat them like animals, like we see by some of the movements we have in the world, slaughtering people like goats. Actually, that is not moral. It is when you have declared a certain section of society to be evil. Otherwise, dealing with this, I am of the opinion that we have an answer. So drones that were shown, is if it is from the government is telling us the obvious. We knew they know that. Beyond even a drone, you can use the satellite. What we call shared intelligent report. You know, in satellite, which guides stealth, or this what we call radarless, I mean the kind of planes which are not detected by radar. The way they hit with precision is because they are guided by the
satellite.
By satellite. And that satellite, you know, it takes someone to go through the routes of these cattle rustlers in the conservancies. And military officers are assist to that. And you can put cameras all over. You use what we call ground. There is what we call the 3D VR in what we call digital world. VR, virtual reality. It looks at things from 3 dimensions, what we call aerial, horizontal, I mean aerial and then horizontal, and then which one other? It is 3-dimensional observation. So this one can be done. Digitalization, there is nowhere you will hide in this world.
So what you're saying is it is just the goodwill from the government?
Yes.
This thing will be sorted out?
Yeah, political goodwill, not even government. When you talk about government, you're talking about the in fact, the PCs. We've had discussion with the PCs. Some of them are not sons from Baringo. And we have had a very serious discussion with some of them. Yeah. And when I speak as spiritual leader, one of the people who consumes the intelligent products include some of the notable religious people. I don't claim to be one of them, but we get it. And therefore, we get intelligent, we are part of the consumers of intelligent report, both international and local. And they have told us stories, comment, they have told us more information and they have told us who is involved. If you die, it is this and that and that. And because of what we call ethical principles of confidentiality, you cannot talk about that. But what I can tell the people as a knowledgeable person is that this is a problem that can be managed. It requires what we call a political goodwill. It requires what you call bold decision so that we can protect. Let me tell you, the anthropology, because of historical impact, anthropology, and I would like the Pokot to listen to me, the anthropology behind a Pokot, where the Pokot cannot reveal, is the most secretive society in Kenya today. In fact, when the last governor was going, he was asked, can you tell us, he was asked in the House of Commons, can you tell us, what should you consider when governing for a governor to rule in Kenya? Which communities and what factors? And they asked. And because the Pokot were very useful to them, you can go to the archives. They knew them. They said, how do you describe the Pokot? He said, you will never know where the mind of a Pokot is. The reason is, they trusted the British to help them push the Turkanas, but while pushing, they took their land and sandwiched them between the corridor. Now, the Pokot came out knowing no one to trust. That is their psychology. And so that to help them come out of that, for example, is to avoid having them as a target community. So all the intellectuals and professionals of the Pokot should be thinking and produce a new way of thinking now that we have a devolution in this area. So are the Turkanas.
Okay. Yeah. Then I think that sums up the conversation on insecurity. Should there be a question from the audience, we will ask. But before we ask, or rather before we go to the break, there is a clip that we will play during the break. And this focuses so much on the youth and what people, or rather the young men or people who, or the society, the section of the society that are considered as men, something that they are worth dying for. And that is something that targets the youth, and it would be a question also on the agenda that you would have for the young people and also the women and the people with within the vulnerable groups. Maybe we can say the people with living disabilities. Yeah. So as we go on to the break, have a look at that clip, and we'll also get an opportunity to listen. Then we'll get back and discuss that when we come back.
Right, thank you so much.
Yeah. Right now in Marigat, Baringo County, a farmer is irrigating his farm that would soon feed a nation. The large-scale hay farmer in Kampiamoto, Nakuru County, is making a fortune out of his partnership with the Kenya Seed. A coffee factory set up by a farmers' cooperative in Baringo North is set to start exporting coffee beans. The budding dairy farmers in Ravine, through collaboration, would soon be setting up their milk processing plant. And these tea factories in Nandi and Elgeyo Marakwet counties are yearning to expand, owing to the ease of paying farmers who supply them leaf. Workers at this flower farm in Njoro, Nakuru County wake up every day to spread the love across the globe. And for this retail shop owner, his dreams are valid. One day he will own a chain of supermarkets. There is a spirit in the sky that drives people to do more. It is in our customers, our employees and DNA. And it is another reason to look up to Skyline. Skyline Circle, passion for excellence.
Yem teta ne indoi ko kakondo ko matete imwa ile maindoi. Komeche ale en conversation netesetai sai. Komi ngalek chi kose kotesetai akoi kas kotai take kwerto kirokto orip semakimaste kirokto koil okitisik eng emengwong. Kalya o ngalala ko ngalale teta boryo. So that is one issue. In such time, be agile. Be quick to know your opportunity in terms of politics, because you can be misled. Nebo agile in terms of economy. Amuma muege gebanania engokweta magare. Kiusin agesasin yemetinye mali. Tuguk somok chegebaru. Amamiten ke garit pagay ne gonyo bo berberotige kibaru baunatet. That is why gibirege ko lenjin ko samisit ako gerep baunatet ibinda ne mingit. Nebo aeng kibaru mali. Mami chi ne chomin ko chengun mali lasima icheng. Nebo somok kibaru kwony, kibaru iyotet, kibaru silangwet. Amu maiyanat iyegu inyen negesiman silangwetab biikab orengung. Tab ko lenjin Sege umiguni ko we are a regimental society. We need to be agile. That we believe in order. That is why gonge mwagele saita managa ngonge bega. Ko engole njin tugul magibote bik chogit choro teleting street. Kibendi ga mapema. Kongo bikyo. Because we believe in order. Taga ko yan negole kele gole gondo ikyo gonge bega mapema kamwa mautik kyo gole gonge bega mapema Koma kiptai ni kabe met kolonge bega mapema bas twende nyumbani. Wistege koro ko helge kosirto kipchurchurit nebo yoitien nemito emet. Ara somong notok ko kibikab college nale be there to sustain ethical values of our society. Kikirutikab bikab college magisire ngolyon nebo chi neo amagichotei kondoin kwa kunda kikibendi tumak pagule ako kingebendi ondoi koruba betut nekilokyin samburtab kandoinatetab emet ko kakoib kandoinatetab emet koet kosiro melen o chito o tegistab boror nekakikochi. There are only three things that matters that we can die for. We can make a choice to walk to it, risking our lives. La kwanza, we can stand for freedom. Freedom is something that matters. We can die for it. That is why it is by blood that we gain it, and it is with blood that we can protect it. That we have freedom. Political freedom, economic freedom, spiritual freedom, social, cultural freedom. Second thing that we must die for, we can put our lives on the line for, that is dignity. Dignity is to be respected for who and what you are. Koma sasa nji kogure nenji kipcholom seru ko sasa nji ko lamui kikisikin taban ko tep kole agorenyin amat ko sas big gisobe amasas chemengu gisobe. That is what a young man is there for. The third thing that we can die for, and that is why government exists to protect, is family. That we as a generation cannot preside over an extinction of our families or of our societies. Kele magi muchi ke yumga ke baske ibinda nebo gorongoro nebo kipkoimet nebo kaplelach ana ko kimnyige chekenyei koisagat ak muget kele kotil akorwoch kole kimache kebekyin yue biikab Lembus ana kebekyi yue biikab koroni ana biikab Kenya. A generation cannot preside over an extinction of a people. That is what we can die for, to protect family.
Welcome back. It was a break. I'm sure it was an interesting one to you because you've heard some of the opinions that Bishop Emeritus, Dr. Bishop Jackson Kosgei, has with regards to leadership. He's opining that Kalenjin is a regimental society. And at the same time as well, he's giving an opinion on what we can die for as a people. And that would be family, dignity, and freedom. And of course, freedom. And you can see that freedom is coming by, they usually say, kwa ncha wa upanga. So, what did you mean? Why these opinions that you do have and they are quite relatable to the people?
Because we don't have time, maybe we can have it for another day when you can really interact with it. The context within which the two clips represented was two. One is, what should a young man motivate himself to do?
And that bit of a young man is where I would concentrate in, because when you are speaking in a funeral where young people perished in an accident.
Yes. And I had to emphasize that you got to discover purpose so that you can direct your energy to. And being there is a concern of our society because, we have a problem now that we are a young nation in terms of age. We are a young county in terms of age. Majority of the people we have are below 40, and they make the bulk of our citizens. The second challenge that we have is unemployment of our young people. The reason why they kill their feelings and anxiety by taking intoxication, by drugs, and going for, say alcohol, is because it is a desperate society. So many parents are asking, what are we going to do with our young people? So as I come in as a senator under the UDA, the UDA team, we believe under the leadership of our party leader, if we form government come August, apart from expanding the revenue base by addressing the problem of the larger part of the pyramid, that is the base, the economic base, the economic model of bottom-up, which actually the international community would like us to see how we are going to formulate laws and policies that will address the poor bottom of the pyramid of our society. Because in that pyramid, it is divided into three. The lower part forms the 90% of the population of the world, owning 0.1% of the economy of the world. And then you have the top 1% of the total population of the world, controlling over 80% of the economy. And then you have the middle, which enjoys between 8 and 9. This is what economists are telling us. The middle class. The middle class controls about 8% of the total GDP in the world. Now we are saying there is more consumers of our economy below there. Can we strengthen them and convert them into producers, into a productionist philosophy? So the idea behind the bottom-up is to address that. And in America, they are using this word, bottom-up and middle-out, so that you expand the middle class. You expand the middle class to eat downward, to make more of our people to come to middle class experience. when you do that, and the policy of the government that will be formed, because it is subsequent regimes, how they tackle it, it's left for them. Baringo, for example, when we domesticate that particular concept to Baringo, we have an array of activities and investments that can change Baringo to be an employer. You know, honey production, meat processing, you talk about hides and skins, you talk about groundnuts, you talk about cash crops, you talk of coffee, you talk of cashew nuts, you talk about what do you call it? Grindilla, the one they are growing in
passion fruit.
Passion fruit, and so on. We have a range, the Tuken Hills range, which pours water to the east and west.
In the west, yeah.
A lot of water coming that needs only to be controlled. We have Rimoi game reserve with the largest herd of elephants in the world that moves together. In Kruger Farm in South Africa, or Zimbabwe, or Savo, or Amboseli in Kenya, you will see the elephants moving in group of five. But this one in Rimoi, and they are very large. We are sharing also Rimoi, Keio, and us. We have the largest eagle with the longest span of wings. Can we create an employer by improving this sharing concern with Elgeyo Marakwet? We can develop a couple, and someone takes breakfast in Kabarnet, and then takes electric cable, take lunch that is in Jeb Lodge, and then take supper in Iten in the evening, and so on. Can we create that? And that will create a job. And the other one is making tourism, farming for our people in Kerio Valley by expanding the Rimoi game reserve to include private land, so that the management by tourism gives our people benefit of the animals in the revenue that comes. You know, that can work, and that can be an employer. And also to encourage the multinational companies, you see, manning geothermal, you talk about natural resources that are there. So as I said, in every 60 square kilometer, it hosts one Tugen, or one Elgeyo, or one Pokot, or one Endorais, or one Lembus, or one Samor, for example. So the resources in this particular county is so immense, Komen, that we can really provide hope, economic hope for our younger people. Finally, Tugens are very resilient people. Very resilient. We can do what we call export of labor. Provide an opportunity of getting the Tugens employed in the Commonwealth. The northern hemisphere is aging of the Commonwealth, and they would prefer English-speaking nations to provide the following services quickly, because it is about practical psychomotor, handling with hands. It uses human strength. Nurses is available. Drivers is available. Working in military services, like the Royal Army of Britain. Yeah, those opportunities are there. And even doctors, for example. We should produce beyond our needs, like what the Cubans have done by sending their workers here. So Baringo are very resilient. That is why you find Baringo, they are in Eldoret, there is the aspirant in Nakuru, there's the aspirant in Laikipia. I will not mention some specific areas. But you see, you will find that Tugen, who was converted and blended in a society, is now the speaker of one of the county assemblies. I will not mention. And then in other places, they are representing the community there. Tugens are very resilient people. What we need to do is to create a database of unemployed, prepare them as a county. I will be able to caucus for funding so that the county government can train what we call manpower development to work in areas of Arabia, Thanks to Chelugui, for example, when he was a Minister of Labor, he and the PS, Mr. Toom, and they have done a very tremendous. No one has created a sensitization on matters labor like Minister Chelugui did. And courtesy and thanks to him, with the government and goodwill of the president and the presidency, they have been able to secure an opportunity for Kenyans up to 60,000 in a period of 2 years maybe that will go to work in England. We can facilitate the same to other countries. So I am coming in with that to address the issue of youth by providing local and international response to create wealth. Because of one thing, I believe that leadership and resources go in hand. They are twins. The other thing that is very sensitive when in that clip is about poverty. We would like to make Baringo a self-sufficient in food. That is why Mzee Moi built cereal stores in Eldama Ravine, in Baringo Central, in Kimalel, for example.
Yeah.
I am ashamed as a leader that we don't have food there for our people. We will, and we will, because the will is there. And agriculture is a devolved function. It is an issue of a county. I will caucus both locally and internationally, and nationally and internationally, to make sure that we are encouraging our farmers to produce food enough to feed ourselves as Baringo people. The other one is diversification of our food. Mzee Moi reminded us many times that let us go traditional. Let us grow sorghum. Let us grow millet. Let us grow what we call cassava. Let us grow what you call sweet potatoes. Let us make sure that we are growing sweet potatoes in high potential areas. My duty, that is an implementation by the governor that will be chosen by the people of Baringo. We will work together, and the MPs in Baringo. I will provide what we call a political goodwill, that I will really make sure that from the national level, I am able to marshal the political leadership at county level and those in National Assembly in our sub-counties. You have MPs, 6 of them. We have 30 elected members of county assembly and over 10 nominated. If we have them meeting together once in every year to assess the needs of our people, we are able to produce a blueprint, and we will have an inclusive forum where we would like to task our professionals in health, task our professionals in economy, task professionals in matters finances, task our professionals, support the county to be able to give confidence to Baringo professionals, those who have retired, those who are on active work. We give them an opportunity to tell us how best can we help their parents, their brothers, their sisters, the resources that made them go to school. What and how are they going to plow back so that I may be accepted by the Baringo after 5 years if I still have what to give them. They will say maybe it is time up, Bishop, we are giving to someone else, we want a younger person. I would be very happy, but we will have given an opportunity to those even younger to produce the best out of them. This way, we will deal with the issue of hunger in Baringo, and we don't have to be destination for relief food, but we are able to produce even what we can export. So that is about that clip, as I mentioned, that no one respects you comment when you are a poor person. I have experienced that even when you have the best brain, people tend to ignore you because you don't have anything.
They look at what you have.
Yes, I have faced a challenge as a pastor, for example, because we don't do business. But I sound to be very brilliant on issues affecting society. You know, people speak without speaking. And they are like telling me, so, and that is why when I retired, the first thing that I needed to do is to empower myself. I'm wishing I let you to you arigene. or again Pananda because of you. So I had to work very hard.
So you can have something of your own.
Absolutely, not only of my own, that can earn me respect in society.
Wow.
You know, that's very important.
Well, we're also working on that, and we hope we'll be respected for the little
the little you have. Yes,
we have.
Yes, that you are able to pay your bills, you are able to do one or two things. That's very important.
And it's part of being useful to the society, as you said.
Absolutely.
Well, you're coming in. This is your second, third interview, media interview, unveiling your candidature. Don't you think you've come a bit late because Baringo has about 900 polling stations, 6 sub-counties, 30 wards? How are you planning to marshal the support to win the UDA ticket in the next 1.5 weeks?
Yes, I came late, unfortunately, to be able to campaign in Baringo. I agree with you. And many of my supporters are saying so. It was not of my making. Number one, between December and January, my wife and I contracted COVID-19, and that really affected us. With our age, it became a bit, the doctors were really advising that we should go slow. The second issue is that I was still in government, and they gave me, I was in the Ministry of Trade, and for avoidance of doubt, I had to resign in the month of February.
The deadline was on the 9th.
Yeah, on the 9th.
Yeah.
Those are the major ones. There are other constraints that really made it a bit difficult for me to start off. In fact, at one point I was contemplating maybe I should try another time. But the supporters really were on me. It's like, go or we shoot you. And I said, I'm going to come. There is nothing late in politics, Komen. There are people who have campaigned for 5 years, and I have seen them losing. And I have been overtaken in an election by someone who came only 2 months, when I had campaigned for the whole period, and I won my ticket in URP 2013, fair and square. But when we came to the main election in March, only 1 month to the election, in fact it was 2 weeks when I was still leading, and all of a sudden in 2 weeks,
the ground changed.
The ground changed. And I discovered even my fellow candidates in URP at that time, representing all the 6 constituencies, except Baringo South, the late Grace. The rest abandoned me, and they were campaigning for my opponent.
And you're in
when they meet me, they say, Bishop, tunakutakia kila laheri. The reason why I respect somebody like Cheboy, for example, who was the governor at that time, and Grace, who was vying for women rep, they had the courage to come and tell me, Bishop, the party has decided to sacrifice your seat so that the son of Moi can come in. You know, Mzee is aging. We don't want him to go home to meet his maker when he's disappointed with us. They were very blunt. And then the Council of Elders for Baringo, and then the spiritual leaders, they talked to me. They said, Akwilet Kamasia Bishop. So 2017, we met with our senator, sometimes in October, and I told him, Jomba, because I'm a Hango, I said, go for it. The son of our daughter. Defend your seat. Because the factors that made me not to challenge you 2013 still are today. So I'm telling my people today, it's not whether I should campaign because they know me. You know, campaigning means you let them know who you are.
So it's about you being available.
It is about confirming. Are you there, Bishop?
Yes, you are.
I don't think I must, the Tugen people from North Baringo, from TRT, from Baringo Central, from Baringo South, I don't want to take them for granted, but I want to say they don't want to know me who I am, but they want to know whether I am in the ballot, so that I can give them an alternative and an array of choices to choose between us, me and the rest of my worthy competitors, the three of them. So what I will do between now and next week, I'm releasing my my posters. That is one way of confirming. I will try to address few rallies in major towns of our county to tell them I'm there. And thanks to Baringo News for giving me an opportunity, and Eldama Ravine News for giving me an opportunity to talk to my supporters all over under Grace. And I'm asking them on the 14th of this month, please consider me. Tu yuleja genya gwailet kamasia. Uyu mototo gangoya gwait ugono mogero logo itu. Because after this, I am soon preparing to age out. Ugono kinetogumi, and then after that, and then we can see. I would be very glad with the competitors that we have, that we will face the electorate. An election is the choice of the people. Yes, that's what I can say. I don't know whether I've answered my question.
You've done quite well, and I think it's understandable. And of course, we are quite sorry. I believe you are fully recovered.
Oh yes, I'm fully recovered. That is why I'm coming out. That's great. Thanks to my doctor who have really given me a clean bill that you can handle. But I have much to cover. But the best way to cover is by addressing through a media that will reach. So I'm telling my friends who are middle class people and professionals that to hear that I've spoken tonight, and people, I was in a local radio in Kabarnet the other day, and now we were able to interact with so many people, and I was amazed at our people in all areas. I'm confirming, yes, I'm contesting for the Senate under the UDA ticket. So we are competing at Muchucho next week, 14th, between my worthy competitors. Yes, and myself. Yes.
All right. We wish you well on that. You're campaigning on the platform of making Baringo great again.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
I think Baringo is great in that we have produced a president, in that we were able to make communities that are in Baringo, the founders of Baringo were able to put the Iljamus, which is a Maasai-speaking community. Baringo is cosmopolitan. We have Kikuyus, we have Turkanas, we have Luos, we have Baluyas, we have now the Pokot Geben, we have the Lembus, the Endorais, we have Samor in Jumla, we have Aror, we have some Burus who are living with us, and for the founding fathers of this particular county, when the county of Baringo was founded, was able to put us together. And despite the challenges we had, we produced the president and became part of what Kenya is. They never achieved what they wanted. So why I am talking about Baringo being, we want to make Baringo great again, is because between when Moi exited power, we became a victim of a vacuum of leadership and direction. We had a problem of political direction because having a ruler who has ruled the people for 52 years or so, 55, Kenyans, Baringo people, when Moi rested and exited power, we became like destitute. And we have been thinking, who is going to produce the next move? We looked around, and Tugans were still waiting for someone to advise them, even on who to elect as the governor, whom to elect as the... about the issue of senator, it was the Moi's impact was still guiding. That Ongigoji Nguwe, and even Gideon was, campaigning on that platform by saying Mongena ole ato wetap kuga, you know,
Weritap
Chumyo. Now, he was really exploiting what has been our guide all along. Mo used to tell us, elect who in Ravine, elect who in in North Baringo, elect who in whatever.
And you wish to be that person?
And no, I don't wish to be that person.
To bring the leadership.
I don't wish to. Don't wish to be the one dictating, but I wish to provide what we call a consensus. Consensus building. It's like we have one father, so he was the founding father of what Baringo is. Now he has many sons. I am one of them. So I want to be an actor that provides about consensus on a common direction that the leadership of Baringo politically can go, and in both of issues of social, cultural, economic, and philosophy of the Tugen people. Because governor has a constitutional role. I hear some of the people who are talking about, they say, when I become a senator, I will come and build road. That's not my duty. My duty is to oversee. My duty is to make sure resources are reaching county. My duty is to represent Baringo in a local and national conversation, and even international. My duty is to provide oversight, to make sure that I have a robust oversight, that finances used in Baringo, absorption rate, should be above 50%, should be at 60, should be at 70. Rollovers we should not have in Baringo, that will go back. So we will be able, but I'm not being a watchman, but I'm being the one who will assist the leadership and implementers in Baringo to do the best they can. And I'm a team leader. So why I'm saying we make Baringo great again is revisiting the dream of our fathers in founding Baringo. And so that we can say, gentlemen, ladies, the transition period is over. It is about time we build the foundation for the future generation. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Well, allow me to acknowledge a few people who are watching and have left their comments. Should there be a question, you will react to that. Moses Kibiwot is saying, I'm watching from Koibatek. And he's saying he's been locked for the entire time. Ambrose Kip, our incoming Senator Baringo County. Bishop Margaret Tanui anasema, Bishop, as a senator of Baringo, if the people of Baringo will elect you, what will you do concerning the insecurity menace? And I think you've handled that quite well. And in cushioning coexistence of communities in the region to safeguard some of the communities from being profiled, and I think you handled that. Chris, you're saying you're watching from Nairobi. Asante sana. Abraham Kosgei Cheriot. I love Reverend Bishop Kosgei. He is a resourceful person. I wish I was from Baringo so I could elect him, but I pray that I pray for the leadership. I remember he gave me a car in 1995 while I was heading to Nandi Hills to preside over a wedding. He gave me pieces of advice and encouragement, which has lifted my life and up to where I am right now. Be blessed, Reverend. I think that's someone who is showing goodwill to you. You assisted him in 1995.
Thank you.
That's almost 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Then Nancy Cherus, you're saying, Reverend Kosgei, once you're elected as a senator of Baringo, kindly revive irrigation schemes.
Right.
And those marginal areas like Turkana.
Right.
Or rather in those marginalized areas like Turkana. Which century is this that we are still depending on relief food?
Yes.
You can empower them, and maybe one day they will be like Kitale and start feeding the country.
Correct.
And she's adding also that the health sector in Baringo is also worrying, and to be specific, Ravine Sub-County Hospital, where patients don't even have hospital blankets. They are forced to buy them from outside. That's a serious concern, and you playing the oversight role, I don't know what you would want to say about that. Yeah, Teacher Engwo, yeye ni ndume kamili. And Edwin Kiprotich Koila, you have my vote. And maybe finally, but of course not the least, Beira Habakuk, you're saying you have my vote, count my vote. I can see quite a number of people who are saying that you may count their votes. And finally, Geoffrey K. Ruto, I'm watching from Australia. But I think a pertinent issue on the health sector, what do you have to say about that?
It is a devolved function, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
You know, apart from what we call sourcing for funds, which can be done both internationally and locally and nationally, these leadership consultative meetings that we will have in Baringo will result in a blueprint on priorities that we would like the governor and the county assembly to center in their local legislation. The second thing is that there is no reason why we cannot make health services not only available in meeting the needs of the people of Baringo, right, but make it one of the tourist attraction. To make health services the highest that can be provided for.
Yep.
So that people can, you know, you used to hear people going to Kijabe for treatment. Tenwek for treatment.
Yeah.
Kapsawar for treatment. You know why? These are and Tumutumu in Nyeri and Kikuyu. These are Christian hospitals that they had real treatment, real-time treatment. I have my father-in-law who doesn't believe in an African treating him. He's about 90 years. And anytime we take him to hospital, he said, I want a Mzungu. I said, Africans were taught how to operate on me. I will support with the cooperation with the leaders elected in Baringo. I don't think there is a leader in Baringo who doesn't want to see health. But I will be a motivator, and I will be a motivation. And I will also be the champion of health services in Baringo at national conversation and at oversight on the use of finances that goes to hospital. There is no need for what I'm hearing about blankets. Come on, don't talk about that. You know, I don't think there is a leader in his normal mind who would like people to sleep in one bed in Eldama Ravine when we have 150 beds in Mogotio.
So what could be the problem? If there is no leader who wishes to see such dire situations, what is the problem right now?
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. It is the leadership. You know, leadership is not the leader. Leadership is the conspiracy of bringing all components into play. The leaders, communication, the people, resources. When you create a conspiracy of the three or four, some people prefer three, others prefer four, in terms of definition of leadership, not the leader. One leader is a component. So what we need to do is to provide leadership. And that leadership is centered on what we call Leadership Consultative Forum. I will provide the goodwill for that. Where all members of parliament, because I'm the only MP who is a cut across. I'm the only MP with a constitutional mandate to protect devolution. I mean, in terms of making sure that the legislations which are made in the country cannot kill devolution, nor kill the county. So if I'm acting on behalf of Senate as what we call a guardian angel of the existence of the government, I mean of the county government, to make sure that the devolved functions from the national government should not become a failure. It must be implemented. The best way to do it, Komen, and my friend was just asked, is to bring the leaders, the communities, into a sense of what they call public participation to create what we call priority. Even the use of the CDF, for example. You should not be building schools perpetually. Every member of parliament comes and builds a school until a school is 500 meters from the other one. It should stop. Baringo, Moi built a lot of schools in Baringo. And we are very thankful to him. Now it is time where community is guided in a way that they direct their priorities into health, direct priorities into health facilities, so much that in all the lowland health facilities got all the drugs that is required for lowland diseases, including dawanyoka. You know, that our people are bitten by snakes and it takes 2 hours to reach the hospital. By the time they reach there, the poison has reached the heart and they are dying. So we would like to provide that. Snake bites, spider and small insects that can, then in higher altitude and or even we should be able to provide so that Baringo, I told you, Baringo in every 60 square kilometer is one person. That means there is enough resources. Come on, my friend. We can do better. I am not that I am optimistic and abstract and I'm not realist. I am a realist. If there are revenues which are being given to Baringo every year, 4 billion, we might walk up to 10 billion, which is coming to meet the needs of Baringo, saturating it every year for 5 years. If you have 4 billion coming in 5 years, you are having 20 billion. My friend, we should be able to turn Baringo to something else. So I am a believer.
Well,
and finally, we should be able to enjoy the impact of Nakuru being a city. And adjacent to us, it will give us an impact of development. And then we will encourage Baringo from leadership that we zone Baringo, industrial area, business centers. We can have Marakwet as one of the business towns, and Pokot.
Be the Mara of Nakuru.
Absolutely.
When you're in Nairobi, when tourists land in Nairobi, the first place they think of is
and they spill over to us.
Exactly.
So we can encourage that.
Well, as we conclude, special groups, people living with disabilities, and any other vulnerable group, what agenda do you have for them?
What we have in this country, Komen, is that the only thing that we need to do is to change the mindset. Because about the law, we have the law now covering and protecting the vulnerable in the country. And we talk about persons living with disability. We have the Persons Living with Disabilities Act of 2012, which has an array of rights given to persons with disability. The problem we have in Kenya is that we lack civic education, and for the people who are living with people living with disabilities to know their rights and know where and what to get what. That's one. So my coming in, being a person who has really known what disability is, I would really encourage that awareness to be created. Number two, we need to have a change of mindset, because attitude towards person or disability is a philosophy amongst cultures and people, where they say ni shauri ya Mungu. They call it fatalistic. They don't find a reason why they should be helped. Let me tell you, in my life, I have worked so hard, Komen, to reach where I am. I have worked so hard. I work double hard, like as compared to a normal person. The first one, I work hard like anybody else. to make sure that I'm meeting my bills, my basic life, live like any other human being. The second one, I have to work hard, to justify why I should be treated normal like anybody else. Because the society has condemned me. Fatalism. Take, for example, the recent experience. Now the Baringo leaders, the governor, the commissioner, the party, UDA party, they know that amongst the people who are contesting for the seat in Baringo is a disabled or disables. When they are planning public rallies where the deputy president is coming, because during that time, each one of them wants to make the public know that they are with the deputy president.
Yeah.
They cannot create a platform where a disabled can access. I went to Marakwet and I found the dais was very high. I had to be lifted by gentlemen lifting my wheelchair, which is almost over 150 kilos, and myself, 200 and something kilos, to the stairs. And I'm asking myself, is it an act of marginalization, Mr. Governor? Is it an act of marginalization, UDA leadership? Or it is a way of selective process of making sure that you use a backlash action. We call it affirmative action backlash on persons with disability. So much that I cannot access the platform where the deputy president is addressing the people and I am counted as among the leaders. And the leadership of the party could not recognize me and other disabled that so and so specifically is vying for a certain seat because I'm not able to rush to the front and take the microphone. This is fatalistic attitude, which I am bringing motivation and injecting some kind of responsibility and accountability to administration. Asima kororoni tu Solomonika koriga lage. Kitub tobatai Solomonika Baringo. Amuibu nutuget. Yani ketu konyek sumagigirin. I have had to work very hard to reach where I am. And I'm working double. Number one, I have to work hard like anybody else.
Like anyone else.
Number two, I have to justify to the society. Even when I was married, people came and talked to my father-in-law. Matinye mbaret kileji boyot age nebo ringa kole matinye mbar arani nyalile ngerenganik arase tungwano cheptong'ong'we boyondani ngeti bangange situni tilji mbaret cheptong machuine. And he was saying it while riding on a bicycle and I hear it. Tunde tuni amuska gitebe kole kako cham cheptong'ong boyondani kole oleji because they needed me to justify why I deserve to be married. It took boyo one elder about Naburugi Jeptim. God rest his soul. Kongalal Naburugi betu nigiraruwa mureret kulle jarab lagat. Kiko jam Marakwet wiri bagagi bo kulleji Koleji mumut konyek akile koilji lakwenyu Mungu. Mana jigo tungo sande nitok netoreto. I know this conversation came when I was campaigning 2013. My opponent actually and relatives that associated with my opponent used the disability affirmative action backlash to hit at my candidature. If Naburugi Cheptim was alive, I would have asked them to tell the people of Tugen. Gogamogero late nyambara na kone oilji lakwen Mungu. Today gia usandet ne mokonyi jige mwangale jage ligi mingala jujo. So as we deal with disability issues in Baringo, we need to change the mindset. And finally, we need, disability affects the disabled and affects the families where the disabled is. So we would like to make sure that we create a social fund that can enable create environment where disabled in our society are taken care of, so that we can take care of the communities and families that are living with persons with disability. And I'm encouraging the county assembly to be able to pass a legislation, or not legislation, they need to create what we call the instruments of operation. We call it, regulations, anchored in the act, that we, Baringo, we have these regulations, and one of them is not only are we rehabilitating the disabled, but we would like also to enable the families with disabled persons. And you know what? In the population, only 4%, not even 4% of the total population are persons living with disability, either mental, physical, or whichever way, emotional disability. So much that we are able to create a funding or a budget that can enable the people with persons with disability or children, and that can be helped.
So you're saying the number is small and it can
be sorted out. It can be sorted out. Well, it's just a mindset that needs to be changed. That, disability is not a preserve of a certain people. There is no tribe called disabled. Disability is a possibility of anyone.
And that is true.
I went to a church and I didn't know why the pastor invited me to that church. One of the church elders lifted an engine of the car. He was a mechanic. And broke the spine.
Wow.
He was confined on the chair. And the man began to sink into depression. So the pastor in Nairobi called me and said, I want you to come for two service preaching. Minister to our church, and we would like you to share your testimony. Come with your family. I went with my family, and he saw the family, and as I spoke, he was so encouraged. When we were taking lunch, he hugged me and said, Bishop, I want to thank God for you. You have been seated on that chair. You are now 60 years plus. And then I was 50. He said, you are 50 years plus. And you're living a normal life? I said, yes, my brother. You may lose something, but that does not mean you have lost yourself. Even the people who consider themselves able are actually disabled socially. They are suffering from ailments you don't know. They are not really functional 100%. It is only 10% that is found, and you are amongst them. But our situation is physical. You could even be better than some other people. And he was encouraged. So I conclude this by saying, when I come in, I'm bringing in a new motivation to the society that we can take care of our vulnerable people, including the aging, the orphans. We in Kalenjin, we are not supposed to have a child without parents. Any child belongs to a certain clan, certain family, or certain clan, or a certain tribe, sub-tribe of the Kalenjin. So we should not have children who are orphans. And we will mop our towns to become the cleanest, to make sure that we integrate some of the people who are developing to create what we call street families. We shouldn't have them. Okay. That's not our culture. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and quite emotional.
Wow,
a journey it was, and I think it's also an encouragement to anyone who would be in such a situation.
Correct.
And changing the mindset is about speaking to the heart.
Yes.
If people can listen and have their minds changed, like the pastor you went to preach in their church, and they got to be encouraged. That is the spirit that I feel as the people of Baringo.
Actually, in fact, it was not at one time. Baptist Church in Nairobi. They invited families, all the families with children living with disabilities, and the church was almost packed from various denominations. And I was the chief guest. They had also what they call a Christmas party of Mugumbaya Wote in Nairobi and environs. Sitam Church invited me for it. I went and I was their chief guest. I'm able to talk to the disabled very straight into their eyes and encourage them to burst out of disability in their minds and be able to live a normal life. And I told them on my testimony. So with all that experience and others all over the world, I've traveled Africa, I've traveled Asia, I've traveled Europe, I've traveled the North Americas, and I had experience on matters disability. Yeah.
Finally, on the bit of disability, what's your take about accessibility of buildings in Baringo? And maybe a case in question is the building we are in right now. We chose
really when I called you this morning. My sister-in-law Margaret asked me, I think I like you in the studio. That is what we were just discussing with her. And she said, I like the lighting in the studio. I said, no, I don't want to stress comment. If accessibility to the building is not really forthcoming, he could meet me. He had come to my home one day. But when I spoke to you this morning, you asked me, there is a ramp, and I don't know whether it will be too steep, but there is a ramp. I told you I'll come early. I am surprised by Skyrise. It is the only building that has a ramp from ground floor
to the third floor.
I've never, very few. It's only, there is one building in Nairobi, which is along the Mombasa Road, which has a ramp to second floor. But I've never seen like this one. I came up to the top without a lift. Congratulations to the directors, and congratulations to the architect who really drew up and made it accessible. Now, being a senator who is physically challenged, those are one of the things that I will want to leave as an impact for generations to come. In America, for America to recognize the issue of disability is when Franklin Roosevelt ruled America during World War II from the wheelchair. As the president of the United States of America, he ruled America from the wheelchair. The second one was a senator who was wounded as a general in 1967 during the Vietnam War. He was elected to Senate in 1971, and he became a senator in the United States of America. He influenced legislations that made it mandatory that all public places, even private places, which are offering services to the citizens of America, must be accessible. This is exactly what I will influence at national level, because I am going there with a voice. I am gifted representative. I will not be silent. And the reason why I've chosen to go to Parliament as a representative, so that I can have a mandate. I saw the way Mwaura was treated by the ruling party, that when he expressed his views,
It was called
that
names.
the party leaders had the guts of disciplining such a person when he's expressing his, I got ashamed that this is the country I live in. This is the freedom that Nkemate fought for. Harry Tuko, Koitalel fought for our freedom, shed blood to come and muscle such a person. You remember an incident where Kibaki was treated to a drama in Statehouse when Western Kenya delegation came to see him in Statehouse. And the PC and the leadership from Western Kenya wanted to deny Bifoli Wafoli to speak because they consider that he's speaking in a different way from the way they talked. So soon, Bifoli Wafoli was making noises somewhere in the tent, and Kibaki heard. He asked Materi Kereri, what is it that is going on here? They said, somebody is being prevented from talking. He said, why? Let him come. Kwani atasema nini la tujasikia dunia hii? Then soon Bifoli Wafoli, my friend, spoke, and I'm sure he's watching me. He spoke and he said, Mr. President, these people are denying me to speak because I have declared that I will vie for presidency and I will defeat you. You know, you must be in a country where we tolerate each other. This mischief of sucking people by the party made me worried. The second thing is, His Excellency the Deputy President offered an opportunity for me to represent Kenya on behalf of the disabled, 2017. And I applied for it. 2 weeks to election in Parliament, I was met by Fort Kenya leader. I was met by one of the leaders from Wiper Party, some NC. And then my friends from Kipsigis, there is one, and I want to thank him. He really wanted to work for me, called Targechi. He is a member of Parliament, I think representing Bureti. They met me and said, Bishop, it is unfortunate that the seat is yours, and everybody is agreeing that the seat is yours. But your own people from Baringo are working against you. They are saying, don't give him. You know, I said, okay, even the one you have declared, even that one, you have followed me up to there. Against me 2013, right? And then Gogon and Deputy President Baroinda, our coalition East Africa, our coalition Kenya in East Africa. My own people worked for it. I know even where they were meeting. I know everything that happened, everything that was happening. Because the people who are cutting these people are children of our Christians, are preached to their mothers. I got to young Arusi. So you see, and I could hear. So I said, okay, let us meet in the field. There's a mandate of the people. And I'm asking the mandate of the people. Like, I will not be the first one in Baringo. Wanyonyi, who is a brother of, Tim Wanyonyi, who is a brother of Wetangula, has been an MP for Westland, I think, for 10 years.
Right now he wants to
now he's running for governor.
Nairobi.
And the leader or leaders of ODM, graciously, they are supporting him and creating an opportunity for him. And you know how riotous their meetings are. But my friend, Tim, is being protected and is being, encouraged by the party. I'm not asking for sympathy. I can fight for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not asking that the candidate feels sympathetic about me. Let's all fight. You win. You win. Yeah? I'm participating in a competitive environment for what you call merit.
Yes.
Meritorious campaign. So that's what I can say. I've spoken beyond the question, but I knew I want to address the holistic thing about disability. Yes.
And it's quite encouraging to see people living with disabilities coming out to even fight for these seats.
Oh, sure.
We've seen a number of MCAs within Baringo County.
Sure.
MCA aspirants, and they're coming out very strongly.
Right.
Finally, as we wind up, we've taken more than twice the time that we usually spend here. But I think much of the content that you have was a bit crucial that we needed to really listen and integrate in the conversation. Now, to this current issue of fuel crisis, I was in Nakuru the better part of the night yesterday looking for fuel, just to make sure that we are on the road and to attend to our daily functions. Campaigns have stalled. I could see vehicles belonging to gubernatorial aspirants from Baringo and other counties assembling in Nakuru looking for fuel. What's your take about it, and what do you think is happening?
Well, it becomes suspects because of the timing. It becomes suspect when the government comes out. The PS in charge of energy came out and say it is not shortage. They blame it on certain subsidies that they have not been released to the suppliers. I think the government, the good thing is, it looks like they know where the problem is. The government knows. So I am requesting the people of Kenya to be patient. Now that the president today has ascended to a bill releasing 34 billion plus in terms of subsidy, this will cushion even the price of oil, of petroleum products. It might be that will be an explanation. But experiences in the past, hoarding of products which is required at a high is geared towards a certain advantage. Whether it is political, whether it is business, whether it was a short-term business, because petroleum was available in certain maybe stations that does not, which had excess of their reservoir, and it was cleared within the same period. Whether it was what politicians are calling it state capture, where the multinational companies are stage managing government policies for certain gain, whether it is that, but that will be explained. The good thing about the whole scenario is that the government has assured the people of Kenya that there is enough fuel in the country. The second thing is that the president has signed into law a bill that will release a subsidy. They talked about it was expected to be 39 billion, but giving 34.4 or something is enough to cushion Kenyans from this one. So I hope it is going to be a short-term interruption, and it affected the whole country. Otherwise, it would have been politically motivated that you locked up a certain section of the country to disadvantage them in campaigns. So with me, I think there is a lot of explanation to be done by the Ministry of Petroleum in the country, and they have taken upon themselves that they have the answer.
You wish to be a senator, and you would be sitting at the upper house where laws are made.
Yes.
And this is purely a policy problem.
Yes.
How would you be planning to stop such from happening in the future, because it has really disadvantaged the economy?
I don't think it is the absence of law. It is a question of tactics of strategy. Sun Tzu is a legendary military officer, or a Chinese one, whose legendary talks and lessons dates back 5,000 years. In one of his lessons, he said, strategy without tactics is a long route to victory. And tactics without strategy is a noisy route to failure. End of quote. I am praying for the next president and members of the executive to be a bit sensitive. It is a lack of foresight in the ministry concerned to be able to appreciate that during this moment of electioneering period, the petroleum product will be the most consumed product in the country. I must not create some suspicion in the country that the government is about to interfere with election. And the Minister of Energy should have planned ahead to make sure there is enough fuel in the country, reservoir in western part, in Mombasa, and in the supply chain, there is no interruption. Now, this is purely either negligence, an act of no goodwill. So you need to put an innovative, proactive cabinet secretary, and that particular docket be given professionals who are advising the government properly. So my take is not about new legislation, but it is about implementation. It's a question of an oversight. To say, Mr. President, your minister is failing. And if you cannot transfer that minister, then he can be a subject of impeachment to be removed from office. Because it is about, it's not personal. It is about service to the people.
Yep.
That is why in advanced democracies, you resign. You resign.
Well, I think that is well handled, and you opine that it should be an issue to do with oversight.
It's administrative,
and people sitting at the oversight level to show leadership and put leaders into account.
Into account, yes.
Well, thank you. I think it's been like 2 hours of conversation. But before we wind up or say goodbye to the viewers, what would you want to make them aware? What would you want to tell them tonight?
I want to appeal.
Use that camera.
I want to appeal to you, the voters of Baringo. Give me a chance to represent you in this August House, the upper house. I submit to you that I want to serve the aspirations of the people of Baringo. You told me Akwailet the other time. I hope this one is the Akwai one for me. Number 2, on the 14th of April, I'm appealing to you, voters of Baringo, to give me your votes, nominate me to be your candidate in August general election. Nominate me. My party is UDA. We are 4 so far, I think so. Is it 4 or 5? We are 4, I think. We are 5.
5 candidates.
5 candidates.
Yeah.
We are 5 candidates. Out of them, I am appealing to you to consider me based on my experience and my insight, and my dedication, as I have enumerated in various forums and even tonight. On the 14th of April, nominate Jackson Kipkemboi Kosgei as your next senator, Baringo County. And I promise that I will serve the will of the peoples of Baringo, and I will guide the process of development and goodwill in the leadership, along with those who are elected with me at gubernatorial. I sympathize with the governors that have really started and founded Baringo, that they have been left alone to do it. In the next dispensation, you will not be alone. I will be with you constitutionally. Not to be your nyaparas, but to be your co-workers, colleagues, and we work together towards a great Baringo. Thank you, my friends, and thank you, Baringo News, for giving me this privilege of sharing with you. And I want to thank you for being available to the people of Baringo, and also connecting us to both local and national conversation. I see you everywhere, even where actions is taking place nationally. Thank you so much, Komen, and your teams, the technical team. Yeah. We pray for you. May God expand this business.
Thank you so much. I think you've had your time to talk to the people of Baringo, and ours is just to wish you well. We've given you an opportunity to address them. They have heard you. Let the decision now come from them. And
maybe before you close, there's something I forgot. I need volunteers. Baringo has 890 or so
polling stations.
Yeah. I may not be able to reach there. In any politics, you will win as a candidate depending on people who volunteer, members of the party. I'm asking members of the party in the 30 representative areas of our people and the sub-counties, please, I need volunteers in Baringo North, in Tiati, in Eldama Ravine, in Mogotio, Baringo South, Baringo Central. I need your help, like you did helping me in 2013. Thank you for giving me the chance to become a candidate then under URP. And I won by a real decisive vote at that time. I'm asking again, please volunteer for me, and I will really pay you back by the service I will render to you and your children for generations to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that appeal, you've heard it from the Senator Mtarajiwa, Bishop Emeritus Dr. Jackson Kosgei. Ours is to wish you well, and thank you for honoring our invite. We've given you the platform, and this is a platform that gives an equal opportunity to any aspirant, from MCA to the governor, to get to outline their agenda and to also showcase what interest they do have in this leadership and what are their best interests for the people of Baringo. And of course, we were telling you that they were culminating into debates. You've seen the gubernatorial debate that we worked together with some of the professionals in Baringo County to have it work. We've also done a debate for the people of Eldama Ravine, or rather the aspirants for the MP position in Eldama Ravine. And quite a number of people have appreciated that. So we are also working on that. Time may not really be so much on our side, but we'll work to ensure that we have a senatorial debate before then. And when that time comes, Bishop, please honor that invite.
I'm willing. Yeah.
All right. So to you, the viewers who've been there with us for the last 2 hours, we are very grateful for being with us, listening to this conversation, and also giving your views and asking the questions that you have wished the senatorial aspirant to answer. And from us, myself, Comenes K, and the entire team, the production team who are behind the cameras and even ensuring that you get the best of the signal on your phone, we are very grateful. And until another time, have a good night.
Thank you.
There is no UDA in Tiati. There is no wheelbarrow in Tiati. Yeah, we hear about it elsewhere, but it's not. We don't know about it in Tiati.
Okay, thank you very much, Bonaskei. When it comes to national politics, let me start from Baringo. Let nobody lie to you kwamba Baringo kuna chama ingine. There is no any other party in Baringo. Baringo will be UDA. And all aspirants, all the aspirants for all positions, if you not be from UDA, you'll never see that seat. I can only say that you can exempt Tiati. It's good to be honest. You can exempt Tiati because that's where Kanu has been playing its politics. But
to be self-reliant. So I have a different approach. I've shared with you the different approach that I have. I want us to deal with issues right from that ground level.
You know, Baringo has made a decision, and I don't think somebody will nervous about the presidency. In fact, when you get these people, they are no longer talking about the president. The real elephant in the house now, not even so much of governorship, but the real elephant is in the MP seats.
Ni wakati wetu wa kupiga siasa kuleta uongozi mzuri Baringo County.